Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be all the bronzers and highlighters that I've really been loving right now. I've been doing like the same makeup look, just with different products and different colors here and there. I'm liking a really fresh, bright, glowy, bronzy makeup look. It's actually quite simple, but I love really experimenting with a bunch of highlighters this summer. I've even thrown some onto my lid. Like today I'm wearing the Dior, where did I put it here? No, it's right here. The Dior Luminizer. And, I just throw a little bit on my lid sometimes. Obviously, I already have it on the cheeks. This one is absolutely beautiful. The color is 01. So it just is slightly peachy, slightly kind of a champagne color, but definitely not too over the top. And I find a little tip that I have found works for me is when I take a brush. This is an old MAC brush, unfortunately. This is the 225 brush. I have like a little makeup brush hair now stuck under my eyes. There we go. And the 225 brush, it's an old brush. I don't even know if they make it anymore, but you can take any type of, I like just a larger dome-shaped brush. This is what I'm finding really works well, and I just kind of buff it onto my cheeks rather than kind of dusting it maybe with a fan brush or something really light. I find that kind of rubbing it into my skin really helps to take down that powdery look, and it looks more like just like a shine on the skin. So love that. Keep checking because I keep getting this lip gloss stick combination keeps getting on my teeth, and I'm just like, ugh. You guys ever have that? Just awful. Okay, moving on. So that is the Dior Luminizer. The only cream or liquid luminizer that I've really been loving is the Marc Jacobs Dewdrops. This is like always out of stock. It like comes back in stock, goes out of stock. So frustrating that way. But it really is worth it if you can snag it when it comes back in stock. I am contemplating getting the RMS Beauty, the luminizer, because I've heard wonderful things about that. So I think I might pick that up as well. But this is right here. So this really, when we talk about melting into the skin, this really, really melts into the skin. For me, it looks like second skin. This actually is my sheerest luminizer. So when I put that on, it tends to be the most subtle and doesn't really pop like some of these other ones do. So it's great, if you're hardly wearing any makeup, to take a little bit of that and put it on your cheeks because you don't want it to be too much or look too made up. You put a little bit on your eyes, however you want to use it. But that is my most subtle and natural. And then moving up, the Dior, I don't know, it's not too bad, not too crazy and, unnatural. The Clé de Peau Luminizing Face Enhancer. This one is number 14. This is probably my favorite shade. I have a few of these, and these are just like butter. They are stunning, and they are so natural and subtle. This is actually probably along the lines of more the Marc Jacobs one, because it's literally just like a hint of glow. Hardly even any shimmer, just a hint of glow on the skin. And that makes it so beautiful. It's not so chunky, not so shimmery, not so glittery, and so natural. And it comes in a bunch of different colors, but like I said, number 14 is really my favorite and the one that I tend to use and wear the most. All right, next is the Hourglass Incandescent Light. This is the one in the palette. I love using this as a highlighter. I've had a few of you send me messages and comment that this is sold separately as the strobe light. Now, let me clarify. I have that strobe light powder, and I have this one. I don't find them to be even remotely similar. I find the strobe light powder to be chunkier and a little more dusty. I find this one to be creamy, and the color is different. So to me, it's not even the same product. I mean, maybe a few of you have bought the Incandescent strobe light. This is very, very natural, very subtle. Obviously, it's an ambient lighting powder, so it's not meant to give a ton of shimmer, but I like it because it just gives like a hint of a glow. And like I said, like many of these, very, very natural, very subtle. I don't even know if you can see it there, but just ever so slight little bit of shimmer. But compared to the Incandescent strobe light, I don't even find the two to have, like, they're not even the same to me. I would not use the strobe light in place of that. I would just go ahead and buy the palette again, which I plan to do. And then I pulled this one back out, and I had really been liking it because with my normal to combination skin, I could only use it like in the dead of winter. And for this, now that my skin's a little bit drier, I am liking it again, the Becca Champagne Pop. Now this is the boldest of the highlighters. Obviously, if any of you have this one, I'm sure you are familiar with it. I mean, it's like your cheeks are like gilded gold, and it's just very, very strong, very bold. Not for the faint of heart, not for the office or anything like that. So I have to use a very light hand with this. Other than that, I would say this is the strongest, the most intense for me. Then the Dior Luminizer is quite intense in terms of the ones I have. And then the Hourglass tends to show up the most after that. And then the Marc Jacobs and the Clé de Peau are the most subtle and the most understated that I could wear every day. I used to wear them to the office and, you know, for daytime events, and it was never like, you know, Instagram highlight cheeks. Okay, moving on to bronzers. Let's see here. Which one am I going to start with first? Let's start with what I'm wearing today. I am wearing the all over the face. I have the Chantecaille HD Perfecting Bronze. So as you can see, the color is not that intense and it's not that dark. It's definitely a much more, you know, lighter bronzer. I would say is probably better for those with fair skin like myself, because you can see it like barely shows up. Doesn't have a lot of shimmer. It is not too orange, and it's very, very finely milled because it's an HD powder, so it glides on and it's not even there. So that one is very, very subtle. I also have another one by Chantecaille. There's St. Bart's. This has a little more shimmer. I don't know if they still make this. If they do, I'll link it below because I have seen it when I've been online. A little more orange, so I tend to use this on my cheeks. Let me first show you the packaging. It's the silver one. I don't know if any of you have seen it online or whatever. Little more orange, a little more shimmery. I don't know. Orange bronzers don't bother me too much. If they're a little too orangey, I will use them on my cheeks a little bit more. So it's this one right here. As you can see, this one is definitely more subtle, the HD Perfecting. And then this one is the St. Bart's. It's definitely more, I don't know, a little more orange, a little bit bolder. Like I said, I like to use it on my cheeks only rather than all over the face. And then what I have on my cheeks today, I consider this still a bronzer, though I don't think I would use it all over my entire face, simply because of the little orange patches in here. It's the Dior Nude Air Glow Powder in shade 02. This one is more like a blush for me. Dior complexion products, though, are, sorry, my hand's all like wet from the little wipe I have here. So I just kind of want to give you guys, it's going to be on my wrist slightly. But it's, let me put a little bit more in my hand. It's dry now. It's very, it can be built up to be a little bit more color, but I don't like it all over my face. I don't know. I just feel like it's a little too orange for me and it just doesn't work. I mean, it's a little bit darker on my wrist now. It just looks like bad self-tanner there. this is a more accurate representation of it. But the Dior complexion products, I don't always love Dior, like eyeshadows or blushes or that sort of thing, but their foundations, their bronzers, their highlighters, their concealers, they're just spectacular. They really, really work for my skin. So every time like a new one comes out, I'm always tempted to grab it because I know it's always going to work for me. They have a new concealer out that I'm really dying to try. So you can see there's like little tiny, there's like brown and then there's some kind of orangey letters in there. Can you see that? And that orange bit, I don't like to use necessarily all over my face. All right, another one I like to use though all over my face is the Too Faced Milk Chocolate Soleil Matte Bronzer in light medium. I'm sure many of you have this one in one of the shades. It is stunning. Absolute perfection. And the fact that it's matte and it's really finely milled, not as finely milled as the Chantecaille. That is like, it just feels like air on the skin. But the Too Faced Soleil Bronzer, Milk Chocolate, you guys are kind of like, those are bronzers for you? Like, yeah, they are. They're definitely, but so subtle. There's no shimmer to it. I like that, though there's no shimmer to it, it doesn't look flat on the skin. It doesn't end up looking dull, flat, powdered. You're not going to end up with, you know, in the summertime, you may not want to have a ton of glow, but you want to have some radiance. And though it's matte, it doesn't fall flat. Just, I'm a poet, don't even know. Just made a little rhyme there. It's just very, I don't know, it's just beautiful on the skin. And I think the coloring is gorgeous. It can look a little orange, like when I swatch it in the compact, but it's not orange on the skin. And what else? Okay, this is the other one that I like to use all over or on my cheeks. The Laura Mercier Matte Radiance Bronze 02. Stunning, stunning, stunning if you have paler skin. They have a few different shades. I haven't tested the other ones. And I never bought the highlight in this. It's a matte radiant highlight. So it's like matte and shimmer together. It's absolutely stunning. I've tested and swatched it in store, and it was gorgeous. The baked formula for the Laura Mercier products, their baked, cheek products and bronzer products are just really beautiful. Now this, sorry, I'm trying to do swatches for you guys, but it's just, they're so subtle and just a little bit of nothing. That's why I love them, because they really, really work well for me. The matte radiance, it has a subtle glow, a subtle radiance, but it almost as if there's no shimmer. It's just looks like it's coming, like you're lit from within. And it's very finely milled, and it can be, when you're swirling it in the compact, dust flies everywhere, and you might be like, that is gonna look like a powdered mess on my skin, but it doesn't. When you're swirling it on your brush, it looks awful, then you put it on your skin and you're like, it's glorious. That I love all over or on the cheeks. And then these last two, a little more just on the cheeks. And we've got Bobbi Brown Golden Light Bronzing Powder. This is stunning. I think I can use this all over. It's just a little too dark. So if I were to use it all over the skin, all over my entire face rather than just cheeks, I would have to use like the lightest hand possible. But the coloring for this is quite brown and not as orange. So that's why I really, really love it. It's a little more brown to me. And it is a matte formula. Sorry, my hands are like really veiny and stuff, but it's the best place I can to do swatches. So it's definitely a little more brown. There's no shimmer to it. Let me see, make sure. Nope, it's completely matte, as I would assume Bobbi Brown products would be. I think she has some shimmery bronzers, but this Golden Light is one of her most popular ones, and it is beautiful because it is matte. And it's coming across kind of like orangey on camera, but actually on my skin, it looks very, very brown, which I like. It's definitely not, too much like makeup-y orangey. And then the last one is NARS Laguna. I have it in a palette here, so it's this big one. This obviously is the brownest of all. I'm sure many of you are familiar with Laguna. It's a NARS staple for many. It is somewhat shimmery, somewhat matte. I mean, it's not super glittery, but there is some shimmer to it. It's definitely trying to get like as dark of a swatch as possible to show you. But yeah, there's a slight shimmer to it. It's swatching very, very subtly on my hand, which is nice. If I probably got this in store, I'd be like, oh, it's so subtle. But when it's on your skin, the only thing with Laguna I find is it oxidizes. So I will put it on my face and then I'm like, whoa, hello, dark cheeks. Like my skin will get it will really start to oxidize. So I don't find many of these, besides the Bobbi Brown, perhaps may oxidize slightly on the cheeks, but Laguna really oxidizes for me. So I have to just like dab, barely even touch my brush into the powder and really buff it onto the skin. And that's it. Those are all the bronzers and highlighters that I've kind of been loving right now and using. Many of these are old favorites from a long time ago. A few of these are new discoveries, maybe like the Marc Jacobs and maybe some of the Dior ones. But everything else are pretty much like staples for me for a very long time and work well. Everything works really well on fair skin. There are some that I think would work well on darker skin tones, more the highlighters than the bronzers. Laguna maybe. Too Faced comes in multiple different shades. Bobbi Brown comes in multiple different shades. The Matte Radiance from Laura Mercier, I don't know how dark it goes, but they all are quite warm and have gorgeous warm undertones, so they do tend to really give that skin kind of that lit from within, radiant look that I want my bronzers to give me rather than, I don't need to look very, very tan. I just want to look like, oh, she's glowing. She naturally looks like that without makeup. And I will link everything that I talked about down below, as well as the makeup that I'm wearing. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care. Bye-bye.